Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to another Chamber Check-In episode from Idaho's only five-star accredited chamber. Did you know that out of 7,000 chambers across the country, only the top 3% of those chambers are considered and have the accreditation of a five-star? That means your Boise Metro Chamber is part of the top 3% in the nation. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Today, I'm really excited to feature a relatively newly appointed executive director for the Idaho AEYC, and that's Nicole Criner. I'm going to bring her on stage right now. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for carving out some time with me today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
And first and foremost, I think it's only been a half a year, maybe 6 to 8 months that you've been in your role. So congratulations on your new appointment.
Yes, thank you so much. I started in November, so brand new.
Oh my gosh. Okay, great. Well, the Chamber and Idaho AEYC has had a rich partnership over many years. And I would say, just for the listeners who don't know anything about Idaho AEYC, they're an association that is providing services for those early learning centers and parents for those future learners. And I think it's awesome to talk about that because it's really important. And these chamber check-ins, Nicole, are great ways of hearing from our members, share their products and services, but most importantly, the people. So let's start out with you first, Nicole. Tell us a little bit about your background and kind of your history of work and how you landed in this new seat.
Absolutely. So I'm an Idaho native, born and raised right here in Boise. Received my undergrad and my master's from Boise State. Go Broncos. After I received my master's, I went and worked for the University of Texas in Austin. And I supported student athletes who had or were at risk academically. So at risk for reasons like learning differences, learning challenges, and during that time, I noticed and I saw a lot of these issues started early on in their educational career. You could see that they struggled with reading starting in kindergarten, and that was something that if they didn't get that intervention that they needed, it impacted them all the way through college. And so that really showed me how a strong foundation from the start is so important to somebody's education, but also their future careers. So while I'm new to this role at Idaho AUIC, I'm not new to Idaho AUIC. In a previous role, I worked here and ran our external relations. But after a quick stint at Albertsons, where I led communication and public affairs across 8 states, I came back because I knew after working in the community, I got to see how the long-term workforce impacts that early care and education can really have on Idaho's economic system. And so spent some time on our board and then was asked to step in as our executive director. And I'm so excited to be here.
Wow, what a cool story. Where were you at in Texas?
I was I was in Austin. So right in downtown Austin. It was awesome and loved it.
That's great. Well, we're so glad that you've taken on this new role. I can't remember when it's founded. So now this is your time. Tell us about the Idaho AEYC, kind of its mission and vision, when it was founded, more so on the origin story right now.
Absolutely. So Idaho AUIC was founded 27 years ago. We are an affiliate of the National Association for the Education of Young Children. So many states across the country have an AUIC affiliate organization. This organization, Idaho AUIC, was brought together by educators and business leaders who, from around the state, who saw a need to provide supports with care and education for Idaho's youngest children as well as their families. Business leaders saw how this impacts their workforce with inconsistent childcare, and then educators were seeing a gap with children being ready for school. So over the years, Idaho AEYC has evolved from just focusing on early care and education providers into now we support families and communities as well. Our vision is a world where all children thrive, and whether that's in the classroom or at home, and a place where a community where families have access to the resources that tell them you've got this. Being a parent is really hard, and having a village is really important.
Absolutely. I like what you mentioned about the group of business leaders and thought leaders and parents and educators that all care about the future of our kids and our businesses and our state. Are you across the entire state then?
We are. So while we're headquartered here in Boise, we have a program called the Early Learning Collaboratives, we have 24 across the state of Idaho. So right here in Boise, all the way to the very tip of Idaho and in Coeur d'Alene and Sandpoint. And so we do have that whole statewide reach, and every area of Idaho is different. So I'm excited to share about our ELCs.
Okay. Let's dive into a little bit more. So 27 years ago, the organization started as an arm of the national. You know when the national organization started?
Oh, I do not. Probably should though.
No, it's all good. What I'm curious about is maybe drilling into more of the details. What are the specific things that IDAEYC does? And then maybe it's right at the child care center. So what type of information are you providing? What type of resources?
Definitely. So Idaho AEYC, we support families, communities, and educators in many different ways. Idaho is one of a few states that has very limited funding for early care and education. And so where kind of Idaho AEYC started and how we like to play is we come in and ensure that Idaho's families have access to resources that help them be their child's first and most important teacher. So understanding the learning and development that happens in those key first 5 years of a child's life helps families help them grow. And for child care providers, I think every family wants to know that their child is in safe hands with an educator or a caregiver that knows how to provide the proper care, as well as knows how to support their child's education while they're with them during the day. And so Idaho AEYC supports early educators by providing them with scholarships, as well as different technical assistance, so actual training in these supports. Communities, again, we offer different systems for communities depending on the needs, whether it's early care or they want the kindergarten readiness services, to make sure that every community has what they need to support Idaho's youngest families.
I tell you what, there's a direct correlation between workforce and childcare. Tell us a little bit about how the IDAEYC helps and provides resources for employers.
Yes, absolutely. So there was a recent study that came out, I believe earlier this week, that shows that Idaho, it's estimated that Idaho this year annually has lost $688 million due to the impact of the child care crisis. Yes. So it shows that when families have access to consistent childcare, they have access to childcare childcare options, whether they choose to have a parent provider at home or put their child into care. It's really important to keeping families or individuals in the workforce. The return on investment for employers is we see for about every dollar that's invested in early childhood, communities see a $4 to a $16 return through stronger education outcomes. So early intervention services aren't needed in the classroom, so that directly impacts state taxpayer dollars, and better health and economic stability. People want to stay in your workforce.
A lot of statistics here. You were mentioning the dollar amount as well. And then on your website, you have boost your company's key performance indicators. These are great, and I would encourage anybody that's listening to hop on their website and drill in a little bit more. I'll read a couple of them. It says 74,664 are children under age 6 in Idaho with working parents. And that's a lot of employees with children under the age of 6. 66.2% working mothers in Idaho with children under the age of 6. And 78.5% of working mothers in Idaho with school-age children. That's a huge number, right? I think that's important to just know, and how valuable the AEYC is with your different resources. While we're on the employer piece, and I think I might throw you a curveball here, but what is this toolkit that I'm seeing? Tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So Idaho AEYC, again, over the last, Idaho AEYC has evolved from just being an organization that supports childcare providers or preschool teachers into an organization that supports families and businesses. We've seen, obviously, we just talked about the workforce economic impacts. And I think the big question is always like, well, what can I do? I sell groceries. I don't know how to run a child care. We're not asking businesses to do that. We're asking you to understand how childcare impacts your workforce, as well as the ways that you can support your the families or the individuals who do work for you with family-friendly workplace policies. And so we have a toolkit on our website that has different ways that you as a business leader can really support your families that work for you. It could be like an example could be exploring flexible scheduling policies that support working parents. That's an easy one. That's also something that not everybody can offer. So maybe it's just being able to help identify what pain points you have as a company where childcare might be an issue. Participating in pilot solutions. Idaho has multiple different solutions that have been created for these childcare crisis or the childcare desert that we see across the state, whether it's co-op models that the Treasure Valley YMCA really leads with our support, as well as different tri-share models, different opportunities for workforces to really, or businesses to engage in, unique solutions to solving their workforce's needs.
I love it. Your website's just perfect, right? It's got all the information here for family resources, early learning resources, and early educator resources. We talked a little bit about how businesses can engage, but since this is a chamber check-in, how can the business community get involved with the Idaho AEYC? Are you looking for volunteers? Are you looking for sponsors? Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And I would say all of the above. And so Idaho AEYC, we're a nonprofit. So we run off of grants and donations and sponsorships. And so when you make a donation or when you sponsor Idaho AEYC, you're supporting the early learning collaboratives across the state that support the child care workforce, as well as keeping our workforce at work. And so a sponsorship can go to our local initiatives. It's more of a strategic investment, right? And so you're helping when you see a need with the people who work for you. We're able to work with you and understand, okay, here are some tools that we could provide you or some options that we have, whether it's in supporting family-friendly workplace practices or it's actually helping you find childcare seats across the state. And so sponsorships are fantastic. Volunteering, we have different events throughout the year where we love to have business leaders involved and engaged. Last week, we had our early learning day at the State House, where we met with representatives from across the state to talk about the different solutions that were happening in their communities. And so we always love to have businesses involved in that because our businesses really help drive the change across Idaho.
Absolutely. Any cool things you learned from that event the other day?
I think everyone has a different understanding of early education and childcare. And so some people, grew up with a stay-at-home mom. And so that's a really strong foundation for early care, right? And so, and then understanding that not every family has that luxury is really important. And so being able to provide families options was, I think, really eye-opening, and understanding how options are so important for making sure families have the right to choose what education or care looks like for them. And so I think every community leader is different, and everyone wants to solve and support the needs of their communities. So being able to bridge the gaps and really understand the needs, or the needs of business leaders, or the needs of our representatives, helps us shape a better Idaho.
Absolutely. Well, now I want you to brag on your team a little bit. Let's talk about some of your staff from across the state. And let's highlight some of how they really impact the organization and your clients, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Definitely. So I'll tell you a little bit about a few of our programs and the amazing individuals who lead these. I've already shared a little bit about the early learning collaboratives. And so what these are is a boots on the ground, community-led effort to solve for the childcare or preschool needs within those areas. And so a place like Boise might be a little bit different than Bannock County, right? And so we have very rural places across Idaho that have different needs or see different issues with childcare deserts. And so what these do and what our team does, we have amazing leaders, Heather Lee and Johnny Karkin, who lead this effort. We work with the communities to go, okay, what issues are you seeing, or what solutions do you need? Again, some places like American Falls, they saw a strong need for kindergarten readiness, providing tools for parents and educators to help kids get ready for school. In places like American Falls, we're seeing direct correlations with their early learning collaboratives, where early learning collaboratives are, and an increase in literacy scores like the Idaho IRI score. And so that's one way we do this. Or in other areas, it's making sure that there's childcare seats for teachers or businesses so people can stay in the workforce. And so Heather and Johnny, both incredible leaders in this space, they look at what the community says they need, and we provide technical assistance to ensure that we can get this effort off the ground and support a sustainable solution moving forward. That's one. We have our family and community engagement team led by Adrian Amo. And this is work that supports, as it says, families in our communities with resources on being your child's first and most important teacher. So we offer programs like Ready for Kindergarten, which is a parent workshop where families can understand where their child is at developmentally from ages 0 through 5. And so these workshops, they're free for families. And you learn how to play with purpose and how to read and what is developmentally appropriate. And you leave with amazing tools and toys that support this work. We also offer parent cafes, which I think everyone knows being a parent is tough. It can be a lonely road. And so these parent cafes are just a way that you can find connection with other people going through what you are as a parent. At a recent one, we had somebody say, oh gosh, I told people something that I haven't even told my therapist. And so I know that's what these are for. And so finding belonging, finding that village is really important through our FACE work. And these are efforts that when businesses invest in them, it supports family-friendly workplaces. And so we've actually been doing these parent cafes with different school districts and different businesses across the state. And we're seeing that these are helping people stay engaged at work, make friends, want to come into the office every day. So I find that really interesting as well.
Wow, that's incredible. I did not know about that last one you were talking about. That's one way that businesses can engage. I've seen more and more businesses understand a flexible schedule is has been huge and a great attraction tool as well.
Right.
For businesses like, hey, we have a flexible schedule. You need to take your kid to the doctor. You need to take your kid to the dentist. You need to do that. So I'm loving how that has been evolving over the years as well. Because employers know, right? We all got parents, or all got children, and we understand. We're getting pulled in all types of different directions.
Definitely.
As we come to the close of our conversation, I just wanted to make sure we covered a few main points here. Number one, you mentioned this: the first 5 years of a child's life builds a foundation for a lifelong success. Families need support and high quality choices to choose from. You mentioned that as well. And then we've talked about how childcare is has an economic impact. And we need to evolve our infrastructure to accommodate that. Is there anything else while we have you that you'd like to educate the listeners on?
So the business support and the business education piece for Idaho AEYC is something that we're really focusing on this year. And so we hope to have later in 2026 a seminar or a workshop where business leaders, HR leaders can come to the table and really talk about the problems that they're seeing within their workforce. And then we are hoping to be able to provide many different solutions for family-friendly workplace policies, as well as those childcare solves as well. We know that for a business leader, you want to know how you can keep your people at work. And when a child is sick and you have to stay at home, or something is going through the child care center and they can't get their kids to school, that keeps your workforce at home as well. And so we're looking to really sit down with business leaders this year and really understand what needs they're seeing with their workforce and what questions they might have about childcare. And so if you're interested, or if anyone is interested, I would love to hear from you.
Nicole, thanks to you and your entire team for the work you do. Thanks to the board of Idaho AEYC for their commitment as well. And I just want to say thanks for your membership with the Chamber. It means a lot.
Thank you. I've really appreciated our conversation today.
Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, everyone. And please join us next week as we hear from a brand new business called Love Taco. Have a great weekend, everybody.